Dub Nation, I've got to talk about the Warriors versus Celtics game, which is exactly what I want to do in the first half of this video. You are watching Warriors Today by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Allie Barefoot, and like I said, we're going to break down what happened pretty much on the Golden State Warriors side of that ball game. But on the back half of the show, I want to talk about Andrew Wiggins and some updates that could possibly help the Golden State Warriors moving forward. But first, I was doing some research going through my page here on Warriors Today, and I was like, wow. We have so many faithful followers here, over 61,000 subscribers. Where were we at this time last year? Well, this video on March 4th last year had 438 likes. So my goal for this one, a year later, is to reach 500. If you guys love the Golden State Warriors, if you're just happy to be here, if you're having a good Monday, anything and everything, hit that like button for me. Let's dive into what happened yesterday. The Golden State Warriors lost 140 to 88. And look, it was just one game. The Boston Celtics got blown out by the Milwaukee Bucks earlier in the year, but no one wants to talk about that. So I completely get it. It happens. It's one game. Move on. But before we do that, I want to break down what happened. Because why the Warriors opted to leave Jaylen Brown wide open to start the game was a little unusual for me. Especially since Jaylen Brown has been on a hot streak recently during the Boston Celtics' 11-game win streak. If you wanted to pull this tactic with the Boston Celtics coming into the Chase Center, I get it. But you were going into TD Garden on an 11-game win streak, and you opted to keep Jaylen Brown open from downtown? Well, he answered. He dropped 19 points in 7 minutes. He made 5 3-pointers. The Boston Celtics gave him the green light to shoot whenever and wherever, since there was so much cushion going on. However, I just think that it was not the best type of strategy. I know they wanted to catch him off guard, but I wasn't a huge fan of it. Anthony Slater did give a quote on what Draymond Green had to say after the game and why this was a strategy in the first place. And he said the Warriors implemented the strategy to sag off Jaylen Brown like 15 minutes before the game. He said, I thought it was fun to try. I was actually all for it. Didn't work. Oh well, we move on. First thing, the fact that Draymond Green was the voice of reason after the loss is improvement. The second thing, what in the hell are you doing making a game plan 15 minutes before the game? You're in the locker room in Boston, and you just decide, hey, wouldn't it be crazy if we just let Jaylen Brown wide open and then go out there and do it? That was banana land. I highly suggest never doing that again, especially during a regular season game. Maybe in the playoffs, if you were to have a 7-game series with them, yeah, test it out game 3, see if the shot's really falling in. But 140 to 88, not to mention, the Warriors and Celtics were tied at 21 all in the second quarter, and then boom, the lead left, and it never came back. Curry's response to this entire thing was they're hitting 10 threes in the first quarter. That used to be us. You guys remember it. A decade long of deep three balls. This is what crafted the Golden State Warriors dynasty. And once he said that, I was like, damn, that really did used to be the Warriors. If anybody knows what it feels like to win 140 to 88, it's Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green. And it got me thinking, well, they played them 2 years ago in the NBA Finals in 2022, but they are both two completely different ball clubs. The Warriors used to be where the Celtics are now. And even Steph Curry was like, look, dude, that narrative is overplayed. It's done. It's over with. We've played them like 4 or 5 times since the 2022 Finals. It's done with. But you got to think about earlier this season, the Warriors did hand the Celtics a loss in overtime, and that looked like the 2022 NBA Finals Warriors. And that's okay. They don't have to be the same team that they were. But the kicker here is that the Boston Celtics are getting better from that 2022 game. So what is Steve Kerr doing, and what is Steve Kerr saying about this loss? And like I said, it's just one game. The Warriors have done a lot in the 2024 half of the season to be proud of, but what Steve Kerr had to say about this game was just let it go. Flush it away. It's not that big of a deal. He even said the Boston Celtics came out hot. There was no way we were beating them. And sometimes you just have to admit defeat. And that's what Steve Kerr did. And I know they're going to move on and play the Bucks later on this week. But overall, flush it away might be the only thing you have to say about this. You tried a tactic, an albeit crazy tactic, to start the game, and it didn't work. So overall, I will give credit to Steve Kerr. I will give credit to Steph Curry and Draymond Green, who are like, you know what, let's try it. Let's see what happens. but I wouldn't probably have adjusted that to Jaylen Brown, especially not an 11-game win streak. It was a bad plan. It really was. There were numerous other weak spots, offensive rebounding, that you could have targeted for the Boston Celtics, but their 3-game? Probably not it. They did start off hot, though. Then they strayed away from what was working, which was Moses Moody, who had 11 points. Jonathan Kuminga continuously crashing to the board, and he was on Jason Tatum, who only had 2 points in the first quarter. That's something I would have explored more and just ditched this whole Jaylen Brown plan. But I'm not Steve Kerr. Hell, I'm not even close to anything near a basketball coach. Overall, my opinion as a viewer, that was a terrible play to run. But we'll see what happens next time. I want to hear from you guys, though. That's why we have Warriors today. I give you my opinion. I show you the stats. You guys comment back, and we keep going back and forth with each other. I love reading your comments. That's what provides me my joy every single day. So all you guys have to do is comment down below. Give me your one-word reaction to the Warriors versus Celtics game. Mine's what? What was that? That is my reaction, flat out. You can go with surprising. You can go with outrageous. You can have numerous reactions here. Just drop one word down below. Well, I bring up a familiar name here. Andrew Wiggins has now missed 4 ball games for the Golden State Warriors. And how much more can they go on without having Andrew Wiggins? Plus, the Warriors really could use Wiggins against the Boston Celtics. And it gets to a point where, once again, I'm not an NBA coach, but I truly do think that if Wiggins had been in this ball game, there is no way in hell Draymond Green, Steph Curry, and Steve Kerr opt to run that play, to go with that defensive strategy of leaving Jaylen Brown open. I was talking to Nick Roloff, the host of the Heat Report, before the game, and we were like, who's going to be on Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum? Well, you had put Jonathan Kuminga on Jason Tatum. Wiggins would have gone on Jaylen Brown. But since they didn't have him, they didn't have Brandon Pajemski, you could have put Moses Moody on him, which they did a little bit, but then they just completely let him go and shoot the 3 whenever he wanted to. Golden State Warriors would not have come near that play if Wiggins was playing. That's at least my opinion, because when you have somebody like Andrew Wiggins, you're not going to have the best defensive asset out there on the court. He's no Draymond Green. He doesn't even have a better defensive rating than Moses Moody or Jonathan Kuminga. Hell, he's got one of the worst defensive ratings on the team at 118. But here's what you do have when you have Andrew Wiggins on the floor, especially a smaller Golden State Warriors basketball team. He could be a difference maker when you're going up against forwards who are 6'9", 6'7", and can drain a 3 from anywhere on the court. When I think you do have somebody like Wiggins, I think that you have somebody that is going to be athletic. He's going to create size and spread out the floor. Meanwhile, no, he doesn't have the best defensive rating, but you're missing some height there, some length. Ergo, letting Jaylen Brown shoot from the top of the key. However, Moses Moody did have a good start to the game, and then they neglected him in the entire second quarter. He had 11 points, 4 rebounds, and we went 5 for 9 from the field, 1 for 4 from the 3, and albeit none of the 3-point shots were falling for the Golden State Warriors, but this was in 19 minutes. Moses Moody, who's playing upwards of about 32 minutes now, who's been in the starting lineup for Andrew Wiggins. My only question here, what role is Mo even going to have when Andrew Wiggins does return? Because if you do play Wiggins in that game, you're not starting Moses Moody, and I think Moses Moody has at least opened up a role for himself. Moses Moody has at least deserved to have more playing time. Whether or not he's going to come out and play more than Andrew Wiggins, well, that's a question that has yet to be remained. But I do think that Moody has not only filled the shoes of Andrew Wiggins during the time being, and I get it, these are personal reasons. However long Andrew Wiggins needs to stay out, he needs to stay out. A human being comes before basketball. However, I do think that Moses Moody has at least made a name for himself, and I think he should start being grouped together with the younger assets that the Warriors have, like Jonathan Kuminga, Brandon Pajemski, and Trayce Jackson-Davis. Moses Moody needs to be in this conversation. He has proved he works fantastic paired up with Jonathan Kuminga and the rest of the starting 5. But what's kind of crazy when you think about it is that the Warriors are actually doing very well in 2024. They were on an 8-game road win streak, and they've definitely been moving up in the Western Conference standings. They moved up from 10th to 9th, and I do think that while they did have a big blowout, which it happens, they play 82 games in a season, there are some things the Warriors do still need to address. 95.7 The Game said this on their radio show earlier today, said, look, overall, the Warriors are not an elite team. That's okay. Elite teams have not won the NBA Finals before. They can still be contenders. If there's anything I know about the Golden State Warriors, they sure as hell are contenders. They've shown they can be good for stretches, and that is fair, what they're doing right now, even though 7 of 23 versus top-end teams isn't a number you want to see. It's about how you finish. And right now, the Golden State Warriors are playing their asses off to at least be a lock in the play-in, if anything, make the 6th seed and make the playoffs. Because like I said, the Warriors run an 8-game road win streak. That's tough, especially because they have a really tough stretch of games on the East Coast that they've been dealing with. Halfway through this week, they are going to go back to the West Coast and start playing teams over on that side again. But the Boston Celtics are a very good basketball team. No discredit to the Warriors, but a lot of teams are struggling to take them down right now. Hence why they're 8 games ahead of everybody else. So now that you got rid of the Celtics, what's next for the Boston Celtics? What's next for Moses Moody? And when will Andrew Wiggins be back for any of these games? They play the Milwaukee Bucks, which is going to be a tough game, going up against Bobby Portis, Brook Lopez, Giannis, a lot of big guys for the Bucks. Then you got the Chicago Bulls. That should be a win if the Golden State Warriors keep it on their belt. Same thing both here for the San Antonio Spurs. Yes, you've got Wemby, and yes, he is ginormous and just becoming an all-star in the making. However, these should be 2 wins. The Mavericks, however, have been struggling. They're kind of on a bad streak right now of losing some games, but you can never rule out Kyrie and Luka. That'll be a good game, and I do hope that Andrew Wiggins has gotten the time that he needs to be able to return for these 5 games, but I do suggest it's going to be a hard stretch without Wiggins, unfortunately. So my question to you guys is, do you think Wiggins is going to be back during any of these next 5 games? You've got the Bucks, the Bulls, 2 games against the Spurs, and the Mavericks. Do you guys see Wiggins missing a lot of time? We saw this last year. He missed 25 games and came back just in time for the playoffs. Of course, none of us know because the Warriors are in contact with him. They're giving him his privacy, and like I said, I hope he is doing okay. But do you guys see Andrew Wiggins coming back in the next 5 games? Type Y for yes, type N for no. And if Andrew Wiggins does come back, you know we're going to talk about it right here on Warriors Today by Chat Sports. So all you guys have to do to be in the know, subscribe. And as always, if you enjoyed the video, if you're happy the Golden State Warriors are in the top 10 of the Western Conference or anything or all the above, all you guys have to do is like this video.